Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I'm very excited to introduce you to our guest, but before I do that, here's a quote I think is fitting for this episode. You must determine where you are going in life because you cannot get there unless you move in that direction. Random wandering will not move you forward. It will instead disappoint and frustrate you and make you anxious and unhappy and hard to get along with, parentheses, and then resentful, and then vengeful, and then worse, end quote. Jordan B. Peterson. God, I didn't even read the whole quote before I picked it because I was like, oh, that looks great. Now I'm like, oh, I hope this guy doesn't feel attacked.
No.
My dear friend, Andrew Berman, I'm thinking about me too. Like, I'm attacking myself. Thank you for coming back to the Culture Matters podcast. No, that quote is not about you, my friend. You're a wonderful, amazing, extraordinary human. And I want the audience to understand that Andrew Berman is one of the advisors behind the people that you look up to. If unless you're under a rock, maybe you are, listen to this. If you're in and around the mortgage industry, especially, Andrew Berman's influenced you in one way or another. You need to listen to the conversations that I've had with Andrew Berman on the Culture Matters podcast. I wish I remembered the episodes off the top of my head. I got really excited and I know there's one just recently. So, but there's at least two other times, right, brother?
Well, so the first one, and I just remembered because it was episode five, season five. Yeah, which is weird because that's my number. So that would just blew my mind. 5 is my magical number. It's not like a lucky number. It's just a number that's always been special to me. So it was very weird, actually, that coincidentally that it was episode 55 of season 5, which just blew my mind.
What's the significance of the number?
It's just like there was in 1995 I had some kind of like awakening, and it was like I almost I used actually this analogy that I went from like a analog thinking to like a digital way of thinking where I just wasn't really necessarily, I wasn't living, I was existing. I just kind of I didn't actually understand actually what my purpose was. I didn't understand that I needed to have a purpose. And in 1995, I actually found direction, and I found actually a thirst for life. I found actually, I found passion. I found actually, things actually that was into. I found actually, hobbies. I found actually, I found myself is what happened in 1995. And the number 5 had just kind of has magically appeared in special places in my life. So, and it's not like a lucky number. I don't actually, play that number or something like that if it's a luck thing or anything like that. But I recognize and pay tribute to the number 5.
Why do you think it's important to have a purpose?
I mean, without a purpose, you're going nowhere. I mean, if you're I use the old analogy, if you're a ship and your ship actually has no destination, and it's just kind of set out into the harbor, it's not going to go anyplace, and if any place, it's gonna wind up derelict on some island someplace. You need to have a mission. You need to have a purpose. You need to know where you're going. You need to be aware of actually what the mission is. And then obviously, create a plan to achieve that mission and to reach your goals or objectives.
What do you think the reason people don't have a plan is or are reasons?
I think generally speaking, actually, that there's a lot of people out there that just follow what they feel is what they're supposed to do. There's a path that has been carved out by the people before them, and they just follow that path, and that's just it's what you do. You just follow that path. That's what everyone else did, so you follow that path.
What are the consequences?
Consequences of living a life that you don't love. Consequences is existing, not actually, not having passion in your life, not being excited, not being actually to the point actually, where you are, operating on 1 hour sleep and you still feel supercharged, whether it's work, whether it's, a passion project, whether it's a charity, whether it's just, spending time with your family, whatever it is, like, where you are excited about life.
What are you excited about right now? It's May 2023. Shoot, the last time you were on, I think the sky was falling. Is it still?
Yeah, totally. It's fun. It's falling, but it's fun. It's fun. This is like because I'm aware of it falling. And like, so last time the sky was falling, as an economy, as our industry, I first off, I wasn't prepared. Even though actually, all of my, some of my biggest mentors, warned me that this was going to come, when the sky was going to fall, but you're just like, no, that's not the case. But here's a time actually where I actually recognize the opportunities that present itself when the sky is falling. When the sky is falling, there's a lot of the people are going to seize up. They're going to be actually riddled with fear, and it's going to prevent them from taking action. And this is the time actually to take action. This is the time to be freaking excited. This is the time actually, to plan and focus actually on your future self. So there's a lot I'm excited about. I mean, I'd say actually, if we look at all the different things I'm excited about, I mean, right now, the work that we're doing with Ambiz is just amazing. And I'm like, that is just something I am truly excited about. We've built an organization that is obsessed with mortgages, obsessed with actually, with the work we do, and we're having a lot of fun doing it, working with some great companies, to help tell their stories. So that's actually,
why is a good time now for people that are listening in the mortgage space to care about their stories?
So I did a webinar a few weeks ago, and I'm going to quote this guy, Mike Doran, who said this, because I just love this. It's like, and he said actually that nothing exciting happens in boom years. The excitement happens now. In boom years, 2020, 2021, all you're doing is just going through the motions. You've created a path, you follow that path, and you're just answering phones, responding to alerts, responding to emails, and you're just going through the motions. All you're doing is reacting to situations that you created in less than boom times. So now is the time actually that we get to evaluate our business. Now is the time actually we get to say, all right, maybe I need to actually upgrade my tech stack. Maybe I need to actually to get new underwriters. Maybe I need to, to figure out a different strategy. Maybe it's time actually to stop working with real estate agents as much as I do and try to actually focus on generating the business myself with borrowers. So this is the time that's exciting. This is the time actually that I go back actually to the 2008, 2009, and I didn't realize it because I was actually at the time I was riddled with fear. I mean, it was at that time it was an ugly time. Like I went for like almost a year where I couldn't pay bills.
Really?
Yeah, it's ugly. It was so ugly, and and because of that, you're living in this fear. But I learned a lot. And from that time, and I didn't know I was learning at the time. Now, actually, now I feel like I have actually, the benefit of having the perspective of what I went through, and knowing actually that now it's time. And by the way, it's not bad. Like things are good. Like we're actually not, we're not doing bad as an organization. We're very happy with the way things are going. But we know actually that the things that we're doing right now are setting ourselves up for the future. And the originators that I'm talking to, the people actually I'm talking to that are running mortgage banks, that are excited about the future, even though the productions are down, even though actually their numbers are not doing what they did, in the last, 2 years, but or last 3 years, let's call it. But you can't. Those were flukes. Those were gifts. Those were things that were given to us. And we have the opportunity to take the resources.
You mean I'm not entitled to that?
You are, Jay. You
Oh,
are.
thank you.
You've inspired actually enough of us out here that you are entitled to it. We feel like you should have it if there's anyone that should.
I mean, what do you think it's helpful to fall?
I think if you never fall, you've never tried. If you've never pushed yourself, I mean, it's just as simple as that. Like, you have to fall, you have to make mistakes, you have to actually, fail at things. If you don't, you've never reached your fullest potential.
Do you see people actually working harder now, or like 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Curious.
So there's definitely people that have taken a pause, that have done two things. One, they're resting on the gifts that were given to them financially, during actually the boom times. And they're also somewhat concerned. I mean, just they're almost at a point where they're throwing in the towel. So
Really?
yeah, there's no question about it. There's people actually that don't actually see the opportunities out there. And there are also a lot of people actually whose business models just haven't evolved. This is the time actually, where like you just can't keep doing actually the same things you're always doing. I mean, it's just not going to be successful.
People actually do that?
Yes.
I just get bored
I know.
so quick.
I get bored so easily. I need to change it up. I need to do things not actually for the purposes of always being growing, but actually because I just get bored. I want to do new things. I want to do
people really they're that you're seeing that same thing, didn't reinvent it, and now they're done.
Yeah. So today I talked to one of like the top 5 mortgage originators in the country. Guy actually was telling me actually that he's excited. He's looking forward to the future. He's mentoring people. He's all about activity. And the way actually way he puts it is that in the boom years, all he was doing was just basically just growing was building his, or responding to people coming to him with loans. But one of the things that he was doing, he was still actually trying to grow his business, because there was a lot of people actually that were just trying to be reactive. But he looks at now as the time actually that you need to really put the pedal to the metal. It seems like this is the time actually you can relax. You made a lot of money in 2020, 2021. And maybe it's time to just chill out. But no, it's the time to work smarter. This is a time, so his philosophy, what he's doing, he's with one of the largest lenders in the country. His philosophy is he's trying to teach others what he's learned in this business, and taking actually those gifts and trying to share them with others, and creating a literal roadmap of what he's been successful, and now trying to replicate it to be a gift for other originators to follow suit.
What do you say are some of the traits of the really high performance, high performance? So this type of person, top in their field, some of the traits of the top performing people.
So first off, they're unfazed by market downturns. So 2008, we created National Mortgage Professional with that theory in mind. With basically, we said, all right, something. We know everyone was doing horrible. It was not a great time, but there were still some people that were doing business, and we built an editorial model around those people. So, I mean,
the heroes.
You can call them heroes, but they don't look at themselves as heroes.
Well, what Jedi would?
Well said.
I mean, the masterful idea at that time. There's just, it hit me now, like the heroes, we need hope. I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, but so today I'm talking to this top originator, and you know, he almost referred to himself as an expert, but pulled it back, saying, "Well, I'm really not an expert." I'm like, "What do you do? You can't say that. You can't say you did thousands of loans a year, and you can't say actually you're not an expert." So, yet the person is doing a few hundred loans might consider themselves an expert, and that's actually something actually a trait of the top performers. They're always trying to learn. They're always trying to figure out ways to do it better.
Really?
Yes.
What about the traits of the performer that is up there, but not up there?
Like they're comfortable. They've reached the plateau.
They're definitely up there. They're
Yeah.
just not up there. I'm curious, right? Like the temperament, personality, or is there a I'm thinking of a discerning philosophy between, well, even just what you just said, that person always trying to learn, and then maybe someone that did hundreds, no, they're the expert. So that makes me think, if you were to break down or discern the differences between the thousands of served customers a year versus the hundreds, because you have so much experience interacting with people in both of these quadrants. How would you go about it?
So, I mean, one of the differences that I'm seeing with top producers and top earners, because they're not necessarily the same thing. A top producer is producing the business themselves. Top earner could be just in situations that have just lend themselves to put them in good positions to earn. So for instance, maybe there's some systems or some situation that they've created for themselves to create this flow of business, and they maybe get comfortable, and they're not growing. But you take actually some of these other people, actually they know actually they have to change. They know they have to evolve. And I think the difference between a top earner, someone who's just earning good money right now, and a top producer who's actually proactively, producing and controlling their future. I'm going to say actually the big difference is one is actually planning and strategizing their future and figuring out what they could do to step it up. Because there's, Jay, this business, the mortgage business, is so easy, or I shouldn't say it's so easy. Even though the person I talked to today, this top producer, he says it's easy. He says it's easy because all you have to do is actually follow through on what you said you were going to do.
Really?
Yes. He says actually that the way he's done thousands of loans a year was literally from just not being a jerk and just following through on the things actually that he said he was going to do, and just and focusing on the what he calls the highest and best use of his time, and the highest and best use of an originator's time is not chasing page 8 of 8 that was left intentionally blank. It's prospecting, going out there to do whatever you possibly can do to prospect, find new business, find new funnels of business to bring in.
You think we overcomplicate it?
I mean, so listen, I mean, there are times where there calls for an overcomplication. There are times where it calls for a complicated situation. I mean, when you look at, let's say, a company like Loan Snap, who's doing everything they can to be 100% tech focused. They're giving $500 cash back to anyone who's not closing in 15 days. When you hear things like that and they're being tech focused, yeah, they got to be complicated as it possibly can be. However, for an originator to be able to close 100 loans, 200 loans, 500 loans, it's about just setting up systems that are not many cases very complicated. And just figuring out actually who on their team can handle what, who's going to be best optimized to handle what situation, and make sure that they're hyper focused on just doing the highest and best, use of their time.
Do you find that people, there are a percentage of people that truly enjoy the work? I mean, I almost called it the grind, but for them, it might not feel like a grind or be a grind. And like, is there a correlation between just enjoying the work and their success and the output or the fruit versus, there's this train of thought that I come across a lot, which is when I get here kind of thing. Or it's almost like anything that's everything sounds good because it's going to free me up from doing this. I'm just curious if like you come across top producer psychologically, if there's a correlation between the top producer and enjoying the process, enjoying the work, enjoying like being in it.
Like doing
It's not a
the-
grind, it's like a gift
doing-
or something like versus the squirrel. Oh, this is going to solve my problem. Oh, this is going to solve my problem. I don't know. What do you think? How can you make sense of what I'm trying to ask, trying to grasp this?
So you say, let me make sure I follow here. So you're saying like the originators who are not necessarily focused on the highest and best use of their time, originators who are or being a little more kind of loosey-goosey with their time, focusing on activities that might not be producing them the best results.
All right, so this is my question. And do you think that could be a symptom of not enjoying the process?
Well, I think actually, I think so maybe that's that. But listen, sorry, I talked to a broker a few weeks ago. They're stuck in their process and they refuse to hire or do contract processing because they love the process. They enjoy the process. And they believe actually that they are an excellent technician in making sure actually that the loans get closed, as smooth as they possibly can. But what is happening is they're only going to be able to hit so many loans because they refuse to release control. And
do they like their life, like what they're doing?
Yeah, they do. They told no question about it. They're comfortable. They're proud of what they built. They've got a little brand name going on. So it's like, who is us to say actually that they just because they're comfortable and they enjoy what they're doing, that's not the highest and best use of their time. I mean, I just personally, I think actually if you're not doing the maximum output of your efforts, you're wasting material. Your material meaning brain power, energy, just your life, and that time that you're spending on processing your own loans or getting involved in files, is taking away from your family. It's taking away, from time actually that at some point you're going to wish you had more time, whatever that point is. At the end of your life, you're going to wish you had more time. And that might, if you could have 15 more minutes time, you would do anything to have 15 minutes more time. And you look back actually, and you say, actually, did I make the best use of my time?
Do you think people do that?
Yeah, I do. I'm pretty, I know people, I see people wasting their time. I mean, I'm at a point in my life where I don't really see a lot of people dying, and I haven't spent people with on their deathbeds. I'm, fortunate enough. I haven't had a lot of people die that were close to me. Not good. But you know, I would just imagine that at the end of your life, you know, you do anything for an few extra minutes. Anything. So why would you not actually do the best you possibly could to be the most efficient you could possibly be? Plan actually for success. No, not just you know, the old adage of you know, failing to plan is a plan to fail. You know, and not having a solid plan, you know, is wasting time. And
it's funny. It makes me think, like, at some level, there's a cosmic joke in this whole thing, because it's like at the end of it, I'm going to look back and say, and how many galaxies? And that's what I was doing. Like, it could be almost anything. I'm just saying, like, I was a fireman. I saved kids out of cancer hospitals every weekend because of the fires. But like, ultimately, at the end of it all, like, I don't know, that thought just, if anything, it's just a funny, you know, maybe it reveals that I'm a total jerk off. But like, you know, this infinite expanse.
You could always do better.
Oh, that's what I did.
Yeah.
You know, like, ultimately it's kind of, but I don't know. What do you think is the help land this plane, bring us back to reality for a second before my mind started wandering with that existential. I mean, it's a deep.
No, it's you're and I guess the other, like, I mean, is it okay to never be satisfied? Is it okay to actually to actually, you know, live a life of knowing that you're constantly improving and constantly actually, you know, doing better? I mean, and I you know, so here we're talking about these people that followed a path and followed a plan. You know, I don't know, maybe they're happy. You know, here I'm sitting and posing actually what I feel actually, you know, is the highest, best use of one's life. Maybe actually maybe they feel like, you know, by just actually going through an okay college, doing an okay career, you know, just living just this kind of existence where they just do what they want to do without actually, you know, the pressures that we feel as, you know, high producers. You know, I mean, maybe actually, you know, maybe they haven't figured out, and they're sitting actually there having conversations, and look at these douchebags. All they do is work. You know, and all they do is obsess about being better and better, but you know something, it's our DNA.
I was trying to find, because I like the idea of like finding something to pick your brain on. It made me think of this Kierkegaard thought. I must align myself with the moral values I choose to follow for me to live in the most meaningful way. Like, yeah, basically, like, we have to pick something. The idea of picking something to go all in on. Like, what's that one thing that you're going to go all in on, or I'm going to go all in on? And just making the most of that one thing. I'm trying to find the quote, but I can't.
I mean, you know, you're talking to the wrong guy. Because yeah, you're talking to someone actually who's head of engagement and outreach for Ambiz, and is also running an insurance agency. So, you know, I'm all in on two different things. So you could say actually that I'm not all in on one thing. So, but I can't, you know, when I see opportunity, I find difficulty to.
Well, maybe that one thing, no, but maybe we're looking at it too literally. I mean, ultimately, what do those two things have in common? There's people that need help, a helper. Yeah. Like, do you consider yourself a helpful person?
That's why I live my life. That is by helping people, and that's 100%.
Like, the medium could be different, but
I know, I agree 100%. Is my goal and my greatest passion is helping people. Whether it's, you know, helping actually, you know, helping the dude who just broke down actually, and I pushed his car down the block, you know, or you know, just helping actually, you know, originators finding their success story, you know, or just helping a friend actually get a better insurance policy, you know. So yeah, it's helping people. It is helping people. So yeah, there is definitely a common common thread amongst everything I do.
What do you fear in 2023?
I mean, I do fear actually that I'm not going to be around in 2024. Like, I'm healthy, everything's good, and I see a clear vision of my future, which scares me more. You know, as I get a clearer picture for my future, and see actually what's going to happen for my family, my wife, my daughters. It also drives me to want to like protect more. I just bought another $1.5 million in life insurance. I already have a lot of life insurance already, but I'm just like, to me in my mind, like that's literally one of my fears, you know, is that these things that I'm seeing, the future I'm seeing for my family, if something happens to me, those things actually are not going to happen in that perfect way, actually, that I envision in my mind. So you ask actually what I'm fearing, like that's my biggest fear, because everything else is all workable. Everything else I could be here to work through. Everything else actually I can actually take on, and I can kick it. I can kick any problem's ass, and I've done it before, and I look forward to that battle. The one thing I can't kill, I can't actually take on, is death or disability. I'm screwed. There's nothing I can do about that. So, you know, fortunately, there's financial products to be able to do that for us.
What ones do you not recommend?
What financial products do I not recommend?
Yeah.
You know, I would say it's difficult to say actually what I don't recommend, because there's always a use for every financial product out there. You know, now personally for me, they might not be what I would use. That personally for my clients and friends, there wouldn't be necessarily what I would advise for their situations. But there's a case and a reason for every product out there. I hated variable annuities. I thought actually variable annuities were actually were just these, you know, expensive vehicles that, you know, just really actually were just not necessary. And I sold a bunch because my clients sold me on why actually they felt actually these things were good for them. You know, so you know, there's, and there are products out there that are not good for the masses. I mean, everyone actually should be saving more. Everyone should be protecting their income, whether life insurance and disability income insurance. But I think actually there also, you know, needs to be a level of care that you make sure actually you're not buying a product based on someone else's narrative that's, you know, shared to you through the benefit of a great salesperson, because some of the best salespeople are selling financial products.
Do people ever regret having life insurance after they're dead?
Yeah, I have not interviewed anyone and asked them that. You know, it's one day. You know, I'm sure I will have the opportunity, but
You caught that trick question.
yeah, it's, you know, it's the best in life insurance is the one actually, you know, that you never need. The second best is the one actually you buy the day before, you know, that you need it. But no, yeah, no.
You think it's hard for people to have that conversation?
Oh yeah, of course, 100%.
Why?
When I was, because so. And Jay, this is something that you and I have actually talked about, because I would literally hoodwink people into making financial decisions. I mean, hoodwink sounds actually crass to say it like that, but but I would have to position what we did and the services that we would offer in a way actually that they would be able to say they couldn't say no to it. And I knew actually and I knew I was acting in their best interest. However, it's difficult for people to acknowledge they're at some point they're not going to live. And they don't know when that's going to be. I don't know actually, whether someone's going to come into this room right now and take a shotgun and blow my head away. I have no clue. I don't know if I'm going to have a heart attack, from that delicious French onion soup I just had. It's clogging up my arteries. So who knows? I don't know. But I do know this. I do know actually, that today I feel a little safer than I did actually a few weeks ago. I do know actually that I've never sold life insurance to anyone that's ever regretted it. Everyone, I'd say 100% of everyone that's bought a life insurance policy from me feels better about their decision. The only time is sometimes they regret that they didn't buy more.
What are some of the objections?
Too much money. I have a person, or I don't know. I don't know the right decision. Too much money is just basically they haven't figured out the right way to budget. And they're spending $100 on fancy coffees every month. But they're not protecting their family with even just a basic.
I mean, if I get life insurance, I can't afford my drugs. It's like a dad joke, I guess. Yeah.
But I mean, well,
I'm sorry. This just digressed. I really do want to know, what are the objections? Like,
so it's and when someone says I see they have someone else that generally speaking, they're not looking to make the decision. It generally speaking is always comes down to, the third thing is they just don't have knowledge. And they want to educate themselves. They want to make the right decision because they feel that there's so many different choices and options. And it is actually very simple. It's just, there are, in my mind, most objections are just delaying a decision that they know that they have to make. And they're delaying acknowledgement that at some point they're going to die. It's just fact. 2 out of 2 people die at some point in their life. It's facts. They've done studies on it. There's no way actually you're not getting out of here alive.
You ever get anyone that said, I don't want my loved ones, I don't want my family getting anything?
Oh yeah, sure.
That would be like a real objection, right?
So, I mean, listen, I had a client of mine who his desire was to die with a penny in his pocket. He wanted to bounce his last check. This is his.
Yeah, that's like, who was that? What's that comedian's name? George Carlin?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just like, was that your?
I can see him saying that.
Yeah,
that would
that
would be definitely a George Carlin thing to say. But this client actually, I mean, he had some
wow,
family.
how liberating.
Yeah, well, and listen, and we created a financial plan to achieve that. We created actually lifetime income. He had some pensions. We bought actually he also wanted to make sure that when he became too sick to wipe his own butt, that he would have actually someone come in and wipe his butt for him, because he didn't want his daughters to do that. So we created a plan for him to be able to do that. But so he did not want to leave a legacy. Now he had boats that he was planning, and he had a beautiful condo that he was planning on leaving. So it's not like anyone was going to be left actually poor, and his family they happened to be okay for themselves. They're doing okay, but he was in his own self-interest. But I do actually also have listen, I mean, I've sold a lot of disability income insurance. Now, disability insurance is basically, you become hurt, sick, or disabled. You can't earn the money. The insurance company writes you the check for whatever you were getting paid. What's interesting about it, and I didn't really sell a lot of this product until one of my clients put it this way. He said, Andrew, if I die, I don't really have to see what happens to my family. I mean, it was literally actually blew my mind. Actually, this frank conversation we have with me. He's like, something happens to me, my family. I mean, they'll go with their family. People will take care of them. I'm not worried about that. But if I become disabled, and now actually not only am I not bringing thousands of dollars, a month, but now I'm also actually being a burden to my family. That was his greatest fear. It wasn't actually dying and screwing his family. It was actually not dying and screwing his family and watching his family go through this anguish, watching his family lose their home, watching his kids have to go to freaking new schools. This is actually something that drove him to actually to a financial decision that actually sold me on, maybe this guy doesn't need life insurance, or maybe actually I should let this guy not buy life insurance and buy disability insurance. And it was from that conversation that I bought my first disability policy, because I was like, that's a freaking good point. Something happens to me, my family, we only have a few years actually, before actually, we're going to go through every asset, every resource that we have. So I need to make sure actually that my family can still maintain the lifestyle that we have.
What do you want the audience to take away from this conversation today?
Live a life worth living. Don't live in fear. And I know sometimes it's difficult, because I mean, listen, I'm right now saying this in a decent position, with my career, my family. But do not let negativity get to you. Do whatever you can to feed positive thoughts into your head. And Jay, it's not easy, man. I've been through some dark times. I've shared some of these dark times with you. But through it all, I maintain actually some sort of a positive outlook. I on a daily basis feed positive stuff into my head. And sometimes when I start off, I'm like, Andrew, you're full of shit. And I just start to believe it. I start actually to buy actually into, this feeling that I have greatness inside of me, and I've got something power inside of me. And through actually, just doing this on an ongoing basis and regular basis, on an ongoing basis and on the regular, I start to, my greatness comes to fruition.